Magandang araw sa ating mga viewers at sa lahat ng supporters ng ating DAYO Buhay OFW. Special thank you sa mga nagbigay ng kanilang questions, suggestions, and feedback on our last episode. Today, we are here again for another very special episode which involves, of course, OFWs. Ako po si Kay Quintos.
And as a token of our appreciation for your appreciation, we continue to come up with episodes na makapupulutan natin ng impormasyon na makakatulong sa kampanya ng ating mga OFWs, service exporters, at katulad na rin natin kay na nasa liga ng mga recruitment agencies. Ako po si Richard Bonifacio.
Ang mga OFWs ay itinuturing nating valuable members ng labor and work sector. Kaya naman, kanilang kapakanan ang ating pinagtutuunan ng pansin. At this afternoon, we have a very special guest na galing mismo sa labor sector. In fact, he is from the biggest confederation of labor federations in the Philippines, both in membership and in number of collective bargaining agreements. Walang iba kundi ang Trade Union Congress of the Philippines, or TUCP.
And Kay, like the last time, we are blessed to have somebody with us who's, if we could say, a veteran in the business of promoting the plight of our OFWs and the Filipino workers in general. Now, why did I say he's a veteran? Because he's been part of Congress simula pa nung 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, at 1920 pa siguro. 21. We'll find out. The representative of TUCP is our guest for today, and you'll get to hear and know more about his plans for the next Congress. Okay?
He also started his career in the labor sector as an executive assistant of the Associated Labor Unions, TUCP, in 1995. He became eventually the Vice President of the National Vice President for Education and Information in 2001 and acquired the designation of National Vice President for National and International Affairs in 2008. He is also currently serving the National Vice President of Mindanao Affairs and ASEC of DENR.
So friends, please welcome Representative Raymond Democrito C. Mendoza. Magandang hapon, Congressman.
May hapon Kay, may hapon Richard. Daghang salamat. Thank you for having me here. Pasay and DAYO Buhay OFW.
It's our pleasure to have you grace our episode for today,
Yes, sir.
Congressman.
Thank you.
You know, we had a few moments of opportunity to actually chat and for us to get to better understand you. By way of getting our viewers to appreciate Congressman Mendoza, ano po ang gusto nating iparating na pagpapakilala natin sa ating loyal audience ng DAYO?
No, more of the TUCP. TUCP has been with us since 1975, so 47 years na kami. And in fact, way back in 1977, I'm talking about our records sa Kongreso. May congressman na tayo doon at 1977. And then when the Partylist representatives, yung Kong natin dati, Kay and Richard, were appointed before being elected, we had 3. And finally, in 1998 was the first election, so we're lucky enough that we have 5 wins already. As already mentioned, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, hanggang 19 lang. Huwag naman yung sumaba na tayo. Sir. Hanggang sa, hopefully this time is the 19th Congress.
And, you know, it's such a feat, 5 termino.
Yeah.
So, saan nyo ma-attribute yan? Para iboto kayo lagi, no? Ano ho ba yung mga panukala o yung mga batas na?
Yan, Richard. So,
we have all the time for you, Congressman.
It's a more of a legal issue dati. You know, there were challenges at the time, and there is a new, parang as a lawyer, patawag dyan na bagong ruling in the Supreme Court that it is allowed until such time na it is not. So, ang tawag dyan is more of there is a break in your service as a congressman. It has to do with the term and tenure. So in my case, 3 times ako na I did not fully serve. So that's why I got into this position now, na 5th term.
And Congressman,
Yes, sir.
more or less itong haba ng pagserbisyo nyo. Parang 2 or 3 presidente yata ang dinaanan ninyo, no?
When I first came in, it was GMA who eventually became our speaker, right?
That's right.
And then you also have, well, of course, GMA, Aquino, and Duterte.
That's right.
And hopefully, if Buligan o Tabangan help this TUCP Partylist, we may able to hear the sona of this presidente nyo,
Yeah.
kung sino man.
And sa usaping OFW naman ho, parang ano ho bang naging pareho o pinagkakaiba ng mga panahon na yan?
Well, being the chairman of the House Committee on Overseas Welfare Affairs, actually twice na. Yung first stint ko was under, if I believe, Speaker Belmonte. I passed actually yung 10022, which is actually the Magna Carta for migrant workers. Now, as you've, bago lang, last December 30, before the year is over, happy naman tayo na may departamento na talaga ang OFW. You have now the Department of Migrant Workers. Kasakatutak na debate na, especially from PASEI and other groups. We have to hear them so many hours. And that was hindi naman Christmas gift, New Year's gift from this administration, si Duterte. So, we have a new department, sir. So if you talk about OFW, it is a campaign promise by this president. Sabi niya na talagang kanina sinabi niya na modern day heroes. So talagang we really have to not only laway lang, dapat talaga na heroes talaga. They should be treated as such. Considering, can I continue na
Sige po.
yung the contribution to the economy is huge. Duterte signed together with that department yung budget natin for sa Pilipinas, 5 trillion pesos, and if you look at the so many billions of dollars remitted yearly, abot na almost 2 trillion. So halos na can you imagine the contribution of the fellow yung mga OFWs, both sea-based and land-based. So ang laki. It actually floats our economy. Kung walang OFW, problema, di ba? So, that's how huge the industry, Richard, is.
So talking about TUCP, Congressman, what are the achievements of TUCP under your watch?
Under my watch as a congressman since 14th Congress, well, you have now the maternity leave benefits. It used to be 60 days, now 120. So, it doesn't... hindi ko kung single mother ka or married ka, then 105 to 120. And then yung isa na tuwang-tuwa kami, just came out and it became a national issue, yung high heels. See?
Wow.
So you don't have to report to work with high heels on.
Oh, really?
That's
We love
important.
wearing high heels.
Dati compulsory, mandatory.
Alright.
So we have members with, of course, airline industry, both
Right.
and the banking, like for example, Metro
Even the
Bank and
malls,
BDO.
diba?
They're in the malls. Imagine standing there for so many hours with your heels on. So hindi yan among others, of course, you have no Department of Migrant Workers, and I'm also happy. You're familiar with the conditional cash transfer.
Yes.
I was also the chairman of the Poverty Alleviation.
Wow.
So that was the bill that actually a GMA, and it started with 800,000. Now in time of GMA, President GMA, now it's about 120 billion pesos. Wow. So I was the chairman and also one of the principal authors of 4Ps.
Wow.
4Ps. And so on and so forth. So ano pa? Kasambahay, the domestic workers.
Right.
And unfortunately for the sea base, although we're quite successful with this Migrant Workers Act department, we were hoping yung Magna Carta for seafarers, we actually napasa na sa Kongreso tapos ng panahon. And so on and so forth. For the public sector, masana sana, So government workers, meron din parang Magna Carta. So would you believe that there is a ILO convention? I'm talking about the International Labor Convention, ano ba yun, 151, and yun ang enabling law, which is the Public Sector Labor Relations Bill. Until na pasado, that will put government workers. Government workers the right to strike. But not all. Di pwede yung military at saka yung police natin.
Right.
So there's some sort of a regulation. So malawak talaga ang, ano, hopefully I did justice to what we do in TUCP, Kay and Richard.
Yeah, very helpful to all of our workers Filipino workers, of course. So apart from yourself, as a nominee, sino pa po yung ibang kakatawan sa TUCP?
We have from the OFW, no, walang OFW, parang ano, we have also Mr. Taray from province of Cotabato for the Mindanao area. We have members there. And then we have Mr. Kapoy of the banana industry and Mr. Seno, of course, from General Union. So talagang TUCP is hindi siya nakatutok ng gun industry union. So it's actually involved in mining.
Right.
We are in banking. I just mentioned you the big banks. And banana industry, in which in Mindanao, it's a huge industry,
It is.
and so on and so forth. So, so there are many
industry
unions
is
involved.
dominated by the cooperative sector of labor.
Yeah, and one of the, I hope that we should be doing this in this Congress, next Congress. We did it in 17th Congress. We heard of yung contractualisasyon. That is a big issue sa manggagawang Pilipino. It involves all industries.
Right.
Even
right.
the entertainment, even when you don't have an employee-employee relationship and labor-only contracting. It is a norm now, sad to say, of the companies. Richard, you're a company man, especially in the aviation. Used to be 100%, no? Well, allowable certain percentage, porsyento na talagang regular. Ang problema ngayon, you have, I will not name the company, a huge company. You have 22,000 workforce somewhere in Cebu, and only 7,000 are actually regular workers, meaning they enjoy SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, and security of tenure. Sa Bisaya pa, hindi ka mahadlok ba, hindi ka takot na matanggal for some reason. So, unfortunately, in 17th Congress, I remember Digong, President Digong saying, Kong Raymond, if you pass it in Congress and in the Senate, pirmahan niya. We did pass it. Not pirmahan niya. Nabito lang.
Navito.
Nabito yun, no?
You know, I'll try to be prophetic.
Yeah.
Kasi nung nag-uusap kayo ni Kay kanina, may natanggap akong text kay Lord. Sabi niya, mananalo yan kasi meron pang hindi natapos ng mga bills
Isa.
na itutuloy niya sa susunod na Congress.
That's right.
That would be kasi unionism in this country has really decreased. Being a TUCP president also of the labor center, that I agree. Why? Because of the contractualization issue.
Yeah.
Contractualization, by the way, may I just, as
Please.
TUCP, is legal.
Yeah.
It's valid.
Right.
What we're fighting against is actually yung labor-only contracting, sir. And worse pa, it's somewhere in Mindanao, in most companies, you have about 5,000, 10,000 workers. They're contractuals, and what is really, ang medyo pangit lang, may agency fee pa. Hindi mo alam kung anong yung fee that runs into millions.
Wow.
So instead of giving them the minimum wage, which is accorded by law, may kaltas pa, mga ilang dyan. And then if you equate that and compute, it runs around 6 million a month. And where does it go? Wala. See? So,
You know, speaking of numbers, na at least nandun na tayo sa mga usaping ganun, no? Ano ho ang bilang ng membership ng TUCP?
right now, it has gone down due to the pandemic. So yan. And because of that issue, less than 1 million.
Less than 1 million.
Less than 1 million. We
Pero
have
mataas pa rin yung numero na yun, ha?
Well, the unionization, yung union ba, na ang kumpanya dito sa Pilipinas, there are about almost 40 million workers. at a high of around 11% some years back sa panahon ni Kakito. And then we have that issue. How can you unionize contractuals, di ba? Yung mga agency hire, yung mga ahensya lang. You can, but it's difficult. And that has gone down to 3% as of now. So that is our battle cry. Happy kami sa 17th Congress, napasado natin. Pero sige, we'll try again, boss. Sanay naman tayo dyan.
That's true. Pero kakaiba yung dinaanan natin itong 2 taon eh. Ano ba yung dinaanan natin yung mga panahon na yan as far as...
It was very difficult, particularly sa mga OFW as being yung chairman natin, chairman in Congress, tawag dyan, HCOA, House Committee on Overseas Welfare Affairs. Kayo naman, nandun sa mga suki ko. Pasay, Ma'am Raquel. May hapon. Kulit yun eh. So, importante. You really push for your issue. So, and at first it was difficult kasi there's no script. Even the prevailing laws, conventions, until now, the Maritime Labor Convention 2006 and also yung I already mentioned in Magna Carta, does not speak of the virus.
It's not geared for that.
No, that's why you need to update also the laws and all laws pertaining to that. Di ba, nag-lockdown tayo. I specifically remembered na January, sometime in 2020, we were hoping to pass that bill now, that departamento. So I had a hearing. And yun, ang problema is the question of who pays the quarantine costs, the accommodation, the 14 days.
Right.
You're talking about billions of pesos.
Yes.
So yung mga manning and recruitment agency, and the government was saying, not us, hindi kami. And all was saying, don't use us. Si Hans Kakdak, admin. And medyo nakakabahan, medyo nagnervyos. Because the OWO funds is not intended for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who
It's a huge
actually
amount
pays
of
for
money.
that? We went to Geneva and also to Rome, to the International Labor Organization, and to all agencies. And finally, we settled gobyerno. Good,
Yeah.
gobyerno na. Pagkatapos naman yan, it went through who pays now for the vaccination
For the
costs.
vaccine naman.
In some countries, it's not a problem,
Right.
Kay and Richard, because for example, Middle East and also Europe, automatic, even
Yeah.
if you're an OFW, they don't make a distinction. Even in America, when you're there,
Even for
automatic
tourists.
vaccinated.
Yeah.
Pilipinas, di ba, medyo gipit sa budget. So sabi na, hindi. So it took a while, and that was another issue. And another issue was the ranking. We have now the vaccine. Took us, ang tagal. Nandito na yung vaccine. Question naman, anong ranking natin sa OFW? Yung OFW, you must remember, is the only industry is actually carrying the torch now. There are no jobs. Jobs as pretty, kita mo sa Pilipinas, especially tourism and others, may problema na. So it was really the OFWs keeping us really afloat. Pre-COVID times, 2 million plus. COVID times now, I think if you use the numbers of Admin Olali of POEA, around 700,000 yata that we are deploying each year through this squad.
Right.
But going back, we have to make sure that the ranking, they have to be deployed, and then it was A4. So, baba ang ranking, yung vaccination priority list. Through our, and of course, Pasay et al., we managed it to be number 1. So, A1
Yeah,
ang
thank you for
tawag dyan.
that. Yeah.
Yes. And so many other problems that hopefully, and we did actually solve. And then, kung tayo, we were talking about the deployment of CAP, of
Yeah,
healthcare
healthcare
workers.
workers.
Diba?
Yeah.
So, ang problema dyan, walang handbook dyan, boss, ma'am, kung paano
Yeah.
to...
Yeah. It's
So
everything's
completely
new
new
to us.
subject.
Yeah.
And for a country like the Philippines, unlike the first world countries, no, na parang tayo yung nakaramdam ng anong gagawin natin dito, di ba?
There was so much confusion, Richard. If you were in our meetings, it took us about 2-3 meetings. Hirap. At one time, International Transport Federation had Steve Cotton, international editor. Even ILO were very worried. whether you like it or not, tayo as a country, there are a lot of OFWs that are numbering to 7 and 8 million. And then I already mentioned kung ilan ang na-deploy natin. And we are actually in the seafaring, if you call it an industry, 500,000 seafarers every year. And sa bagal at that time, crew change protocol, pagbaba, pag-change ng yung crew, yung how fast they have to be deployed and then to be vaccinated. That was a huge issue. And we did resolve that because that guy, Steve Cotton, said, Mr. Mendoza, Philippines in our Zoom, that you have to wrap up your and solve these problems, otherwise you will lose the industry. We don't want to be we're in the forefront of this particular industry, the seafaring.
That's very true.
25% all over the world.
Right.
Pinoy
Yeah,
boss, di ba?
Pinoy.
And
Yes,
speaking of
definitely.
Pinoy, ugali naman nating nairaraos yan kahit anong daanan natin.
Exactly. We are not best in the industry, let's maintain it.
That's
Huwag
right.
naman ano.
If it's any consolation, itong dinaanan nating pandemic, got everyone a better appreciation of the importance of the OFW.
Yes.
And hopefully, the parties like the recruitment agencies who actually made the bridge for them to be better off happen, right? Binigyan natin sila sa priority sa vaccine na naging A1 sila dahil kung pipigilan pa natin yan, paano pa natin masusuportahan yung pangangailangan ng gobyerno in terms of remittance, which accounted to 2 trillion of the budget for exactly, right? So, having been in this line of concern and support to our labor, and especially to our OFWs, what's your take of the so-called social consequence? We call them as modern-day heroes. Sinasabi natin, sakripisyo nila doon. Sinasabi nila, pag nandoon, may kapalit yayaman nga yan, pero may tama sa iba Ano pong pananaw at ano masasabi niyo dyan?
And it was also my personal experience way back in 1995. I was, taking a diploma course somewhere in Italy.
Yes.
Kasabay ko yung mga OFW. And they were so gracious enough na pagdating ko doon, I didn't know, in Turin, Italy, may labor center doon. So, they took me in and they paid an apartment and there were about 10 of them in one small apartment. Kita mo, Kay and Richard, you can really feel na may, they don't stay there in that apartment, tawag yung apartment. So chip-in sila. And because they're domestic workers, they're kasambahay, so they stay in their mga amo. And you can see each may parang tribulto. Of course, there's a Santo Niño, etc. And then there are unfilled balikbayan boxes. So each, and then pictures. See? It's just like to humanize it.
Yes.
Right.
And with all the troubles, ang hirap na hirap sila, they were able to offer me Filipino food, adobo, kain, and somehow, sabi ko, if I can help them, why not? No. And it's, well, of course, working in as OFW or kasambahay in Europe is way much better. They're paid around 60,000 pesos. If you go to Switzerland, 120. Parang ganyan. Ang problema natin is more of the Middle East. And then you get to see yung talagang exploited, nakaproblema yung problems like Janeline Villavende. Came home in boxes.
Oh my God.
Kita mo ba na if there were photographs, Kay, kababaihan also. And she was, I think, being raped. And the wounds itself, na may healing wounds, may fresh wounds. So, yung beatings, Richard, parang continuous ba?
Yeah.
And the thought of i-confiscate yung cell phones at saka passports, and hindi makatawag.
Inhumane.
And the fact that we still insist to deploy in Kuwait, we have a very bad reputation. So, being the chair, I insisted that you should at least, dami naman yung mga issues na may bilateral agreement, there were agreement. Of course, somebody made money there. But then again, I was talking to you earlier. I said, we should not be commoditizing our fellow Filipinos.
Yeah.
Ano ba yun? Pag-export lang tayo.
That's right.
If we have to do this, there must be fair and ethical recruitment that comes in. Again, I was not really convinced being from yung background ko and yung panindigan ba na dapat hindi. But I saw the need of a department considering the number of OFWs, millions tayo eh.
Yes.
And whether we like it or not, other labor-sending countries, I don't want to use that term, Nepal, for example, are following a lead in our labor conferences. They were saying that we are actually very progressive in our labor laws, especially in policies migration. So that alone speaks volumes of what we're doing. So kung nandito naman tayo, make sure talaga na if we say that they are heroes, dapat heroes, di ba? Dapat heroes na to the sense, hindi lang laway lang, dapat may budget. So for this department, if ever, nandito na, so you have a 2-year transition period, and then I heard that the good president will be appointing soon secretary of this department, dapat budgeted.
Right,
Dapat budgeted.
Okay, so before we talk about the Department of Migrant Workers, Congressman, I want to ask you what can you say about absentee voting?
Of the, ilan ba tayo, don't know the exact figures, about 67 million qualified voters for this election. 1.6 are OFW, so electronic, and at the same time physical in embassies all over the world. Now, that being said, I really hope that they exercise their right, but I understand in our several hearings na mayroon silang mga ano din issues. The same time na yung day off that you have to be there. Ang problema din kung undocumented ka.
Yeah.
You do not want to go out and then
Yes. Madami yan.
undocumented ka. So
Actually.
dami. So you also have a problem with undocumented. By the way, this department, yung Department of Migrant Workers, does not, even you're undocumented or documented, you are under its jurisdiction.
Oh, that's good to know.
All right, so let's talk about the Department of Migrant Workers. Okay, so what would be the TUCP's stand on this department?
Passed it in Congress, several hearings, long hours, 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the evening, you were there.
Yeah.
And then sa Senado, tapos na. So it is now called Department of Migrant Workers. So they have a definition of OFW, yung past, present, future, engage in a enumerative, can I pronounce it properly, activity in the country of the destination. And ang importante lang, we took out the very definition, if you are into an OFW, but pumunta ka doon to be like natural, for naturalization and also for recognition and some other similar circumstances. So that would be the Department of Foreign Affairs.
Yes.
So klaro tayo.
Right.
So kung trabaho lang talaga and then may intention ka balik ka dito, Department of Migrant Workers. So I already mentioned to you the reasons and how it should be. And may 2 years tayo, so there is a transition period. President has to appoint a secretary, and they have a transition team of all these agencies that were taken out from, for example, DOLE. You have POLO, the labor attaches,
Yes.
and then the International Labor ILAB of DOLE, and you have even the Maritime Polytechnic Institute, natanggal yan. And the core of this department is actually the POEA, which is the core. So, yung mga directors nila will also form part of the undersecretaries of this new department. And from the DSWD, you have welfare officers. It's a healthy addition for mental health, physical health.
Right.
Importante. So, these are DSWD. Ang hindi lang nasama is actually Commission on Filipino Overseas. So, I mentioned that because that will be the core for this transition team to be headed by this new secretary, including the Secretary of Labor and Employment. Na within 2 years, ibuo mo yung departamento. So, I guess the next president will have a very, very, very busy. Yun lang prayer ko talaga na it should be budgeted.
Right.
Hindi lang na naging departamento, wala namang budget. Take note, POEA has been asking for, this is also sometimes too in defense of POEA. Sabi naman ni Admin Olalia, how can I, parang your hands are also tied with the budget. You need more tao in posting all over the world. It will be called the Migrant Workers Office in offices. So they're asking the DBM for almost, I believe it was 900, even OWA, Admin Kakdak was saying also 500. If you want them to be ineffective, these agencies, wag mo bigyan ng tao, wag mo bigyan ng budget. So that's my message. One, the new president should give budget
Right.
and tao.
That's right. Talking about people, what can you say about some OFWs who are stressing that they, former OFWs, should be the ones who should be running?
That's the ownership. Habang debate yan. Kasi even the pangalan was, actually sa Kongreso, it was Department of Filipino Overseas and Foreign Employment. And they were saying, I believe some groups were saying, Department of OFW. And so, ano ba
Kasi
yan?
daw sila yung may experience din.
Kung Department of OFW, sounds like a recruitment agency daw. Diba? So, eventually, it all falls down to what is the very purpose of this department.
Okay.
Yes.
In the Senate, they took out the foreign employment. So that's why you now have migrant workers
Migrant
talaga.
workers.
And redefine the OFW, take out the component of if you go there to be naturalized, di ba meron mga employment opportunities na you become an American or
Yes.
British. Foreign affairs na yan. So balik tayo sa itong departamento natin.
Okay.
So if we embark on this change right, seems the creation of DMW is promising. No?
Very promising.
Kasi parang yung mga kulang sa mga nakwento nyo sa amin kanina, pwedeng punuan nito eh.
Yes, sir. There are 4 undersecretaries and 2 ASECs.
Right.
One for land-based and the other one for sea-based. Ang importante lang, there is a huge argument that we should not be sending Filipinos abroad. The counter-argument is number 1. There are too many of us leaving this country. And why are
enough
they going
jobs.
abroad? For example, nurses, for example.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
right.
Kano lang sa probinsya? 10,000 pesos. Wages sa Pilipinas, survival wages, di ba?
Right.
Okay. Punta naman kayo sa UK, kano? Yung 10,000, half a day lang yan, isang
4,000
araw.
ang nurse eh.
And
4,000.
exactly, di ba? No, saan liit. Yung iba pa, sila pa magbayad sa hospital just to get the 2-year requirement. But going back, ang problema, walang trabaho dito. Kung may trabaho man, liit yung sweldo. So you have engineers, doctors, and all these mga, parang yung brain drain na tawag sa Pilipinas. They will always go to Europe. They will always go to America. And even Kuwait, with a country, and some countries, Middle East, with some really very bad record. When there was trouble in Middle East, remember yung sa Iran, yun sa Iraq, and we were telling them, come home, yung mga kabayan natin, ayaw nila.
Ayaw umuwi.
Pati kami uwi.
Yeah.
Gutom sa Pilipinas. Dito na lang kami. So that being said, we should have yung servicing of the OFW. Paulit-ulit natin yan na talagang it should be one, the best of the rest. That's why in sa airport, etc., ang daming mga problema. And again, ang really exploited sector sa yung kabayan natin is more of yung kasambahay, household service workers, ang tawag dyan, and also, hindi na mention to yung fishing sector.
Fishing.
All others, they're okay. No? But ito yung kasambahay. In fact, there was a talk na after 5 years, dapat we should stop doing this. Mahiya naman tayo because of they're coming back in boxes. By the way, I should also say that this is the only department na mayroong parang Damocles na espada ba. If it's not performing after 5 years, the president can have a reorganization commission
Okay.
and can say, we should not be doing this anymore. I-downgrade natin ng ahensya na, like POEA ngayon.
Yeah.
And it should not be a department. So every 5 years, and there's a congressional
review.
oversight committee. No, I don't see any other departments na ganyan eh.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
ito lang. In the future, we should not be doing that anymore. Oh, well, if by choice, not out of
Yeah.
necessity, yun na. That's always
That's right.
the battle cry out of choice, not necessity.
Yeah,
Well,
so
the ideal is always if you can find a decent job here, why travel? Or
Yeah.
why
Exactly. That's what
why
we
leave,
should be, paulit-ulit namin yan. Although, nagpa-file kami every year. Although, sabi na, ang liit. Pero, what can you do? It's also a tripartite body, wages board. So kami naman, file kami ng file. Ngayon lang, hindi kami nag-file kasi pandemya and sa Cebu pa na Odette pa. So, although we're thinking about it for wage increases. The highest wage increase was done in Davao City. It was 56 pesos.
Wow.
The business community said, hindi pwede, magsirado kami. Reklamo, implemented. O kaya pala eh, 56 pesos. The minimum wage now, ngayon boss, is actually survival lang yan. Ang hanap natin talaga is yung living wage na sinasabi natin. Goes up to 700 to 1,000 pesos. Depende.
So
Until and when we reach there, we will always have the OFW.
that's true.
They will always leave the country.
Ang tanong ko lang ho dito, no? Once fully operational na itong DMW, and nabanggit nyo kanina na even the undocumented will be, part of the oversee of this department. Parang, how do you see the non-documented benefiting from it? And even the human trafficking, di ba? Wala pa rin eh. Ang dami nating programa na pinalalabas, and yet, andyan pa rin eh.
Kompleto yan. There's also yung undocumented, number one. They don't pay the necessary $25 yata sa OFW. And then they're also, kung nakaproblema laking problema yan sa LAF natin, sa Legal Assistance Funds, to ATN, which is the Assistance to Nationals. It is actually, sabi ng yung USEC natin sa DFA, it is actually isang budget talagang problema. And they have to bring them in. They leave as tourists. Fishing industry, by the way, boss. Richard, grabe. I was on a flight to Fiji for a labor conference. There were a group of 8 and they were on their way to Micronesia, turista. Walang klarong kontrata, di ba? And that's happening all the time.
right.
So, you go there, turista ka, hanap kang trabaho, cannot blame them kasi ganda yung offer sa labas eh, di ba? So, welcome back here. Can you just say this sa kasambahay? Example, if you're Region 12, kano yung sweldo sa kasambahay? Happy ka na lang kung 3,000, di ba? I was asking, laki na yung 4,000. Although mandated by law that you have SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig because of the kasambahay law. And some of them are not really paying. Punta ka ng Saudi Arabia, even 25,000, okay na sila. That's why you will never get not to convince them not to leave. They will leave. So, that's your answer. Wages. Wages.
So you think in our lifetime, mararating natin yun, na we can find the balance between that and
That question should be given to the presidential hopefuls, di ba?
isusulat ko ng mga writers namin.
Tama ka doon.
Isusulat ng mga
The
writers.
reason I said 56 pesos, that was the highest. Kaya pala eh. Kaya pala. Because when we file, we say, we always say 70 pesos across the board, additional, other 100 plus. They give us 5 pesos, 15 pesos, 20 pesos. Pero we look at positively, kahit pa paano, na-increase natin yung sahod, although late.
Right.
By the way, now, how can you do this na yung presyo sa gasolina?
Taas.
So,
Pataas ng pataas.
pataas na pataas. Pero yung sahod,
Tataas pa yan.
Okay, Congressman, so you think with the creation of the Department of Migrant Workers, there will be an OFW hospital already? There will be retirement plans? You think it's part of the plan na siguro magkakaroon na yan? They will be providing livelihood opportunities for the families of the OFWs?
okay, the mere fact that may departamento na sila recognizes the fact that there are issues talaga that has to be solved.
Yeah.
There are issues talaga before daming ahensya. Pati yung hotline, ang dami, di ba? Tsaka ang dami mong para kang OFW, you're distressed. Itong-lito ka, Foreign Affairs ba, DOLE, POEA,
Yes.
DSWD. So we took out that seemingly schizophrenic situation na talagang ang dami, isa na lang. So you have this department. nakatutok talaga sa problema. As to its implementation, that will be the problem of the next president. Pulisiya lang kami. But let's look at it as in terms of, that's why there must be a review. You
Right.
review and review and review, making sure
Until you perfect it.
once they are to be deployed, engaged, papunta doon, pabalik dito, livelihood opportunities, kung reintegration, yun, kasama na yan. That would be something that kung hindi naman nagawa naman ngayon, no?
Yeah.
Pero it would be enhanced, improved. I'm not saying na wala yan. Meron yan, pero kailangan pa up the ante ba? Galingan mo.
For sure, excited ang mga OFWs natin sa hinaharap ng Department of Migrant Workers dahil sila ang numero unong protektado.
Sila naman
dito.
na ganun to, di ba?
Yes.
They were asking
Yes,
for
yes.
this department.
Yes.
So, it's here.
Kaya, Kay, sa pagbabalik natin, bigyan natin ng oportunidad yung ating mga kasama sa industriya na magtanong.
Yes, kasama natin dito after a few minutes ang mga magtatanong sa inyo, Congressman Mendoza, who are part of the industry, the service industry, and meron din po kami mga OFW guests na magtatanong kay Congressman Mendoza. At magbabalik po tayo dito sa DAYO, Buhay OFW. OFW Choice Matters. And now let us hear from someone from our industry. Our guest for this afternoon who will be asking a question or some questions to Congressman Mendoza is Ms. Chris Castañeda, President of ASC International. Welcome, Chris.
Good afternoon, Congressman Mendoza and everyone. I heard some of my colleagues there, they were talking about other countries, no, na somehow smooth yung kanilang proseso, no, whenever they, accredit a foreign principal and the employers, no. Medyo tama po siguro yung kanilang flow ng pagpaprocess, no. But of course, the intricacies of it naman hindi natin alam. But we are being compared one way or another na yung process natin or proseso natin dito, no, whenever we accredit and of course the whole deployment process, medyo mahirap po, no, na i-sustain yon, and it's one of our pains dito sa industriya. So the question po is, how do you ensure, or what is your vision, no, and maybe specific plans to ensure na yung mga job orders natin hindi po makukuha ng ibang bansa, but rather will be given dito sa ating bansa or sa ating mga kababayan. Yun po siguro yung I guess we really wanted to hear from you. Again, yung sustainability po ng job orders. And I want to emphasize also na we are sensitive spese, no, na hindi naman po lahat ng mga qualified, no, is gustong umalis din, no. So we look into yung ethical way of doing our business here as an industry. Yun po. Salamat.
Salamat, Chris. I think I can answer it this way. First, when you choose a party list, when you vote for a party list, think that if he or she can, that party list can really help the group, the PASE, for this particular instance. Ako naman, you've seen us in TUCP in our hearing as the chairman of the House Committee on Overseas Workers Welfare Affairs. I can make an example. There was a time talaga that our attention was called, no less by ILO, no less by the International Labour Organization in Geneva, no less by the International Transport Group, no less by the International Chamber of Shipping. So it became international. The issue was simply, we're losing out in the industry. Ito naman sa sea-base. If we do not act as fast, and we do not act as accordingly, China, Indonesia, and the rest of the
Yeah.
country will just take over the industry. That being said, we were able to put everyone on the table and make sure kung sino yung mga dapat gawin. Finally, it took a while. Government said, okay, kami na magbayad sa quarantine costs, sa vaccination costs, and all the other costs. In fact, we actually increased the budget for the OFW, but that's sea-based. Now, in the land base, which is equally important, I can answer that way. Na parang, if given the opportunity, and then you choose TUCP or any other party list for that matter, ang importante lang na you get people in the table, get them to talk. Example, I understand ang habang proseso in terms of how we deploy. And it's very, very something that PUEA has to address, and even this new department that will address. Kami po, kung kailangan ng policy, kung kailangan talagang action, if mapag-aaral naman na balik tayo sa 19th Congress, then I'll just, stand on my record that we did what we did. And also, if ever that needs not a policy, kasi it's more of implementation. For example, nandiyan mo yung talagang policy pero hindi lang i-implement, then what? Simple lang. Tawagan natin yung si PUEA or OWA or any office that matter. And then kulitin natin. Madali lang yung pagkulit na yung mga administrator. So, I hope you, and all the, as I said kanina, I hope that we can sit down and let's talk about your issues and concern, close to your heart. Kami naman po, TUCP, land-based, sea-based, OFWs, and of course, workers of this country in general.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. If we're talking about holding hands, no, kami po, I think one of the meetings, just to share with you, one of the meetings we had, we aired, very clearly one of our colleagues, ang sabi niya, you always put the OFWs na hero talaga, and we don't actually argue with that. They are true, the true modern heroes of this country. But nawawala po yung focus doon sa naging instrumento for them to become heroes, and maybe because it's acceptable naman na meron naman po talagang some scrupulous agencies, but not everyone. Hence, minsan nawawala yung boses ng industriya namin. Kaming mga service exporters at mga recruitment agencies po, nawawala po minsan. Parang nalo-lower down yung voice namin because of that. And this time, Congressman Mendoza, we really need your help. We have good intentions, as an industry, as PASEI. We really want to be heard consistently, and so yung minsan na to tone down the voice namin, being good players in the industry, matulungan niyo po kami, and so we can strike a good balance between yung naririnig na hindi maganda and the good things or great things that we wanted to do more para sa industriya. Yun po siguro yung gusto naming marinig sa inyo. I guess I was talking about your vision to help more our industry. And this time po siguro, if you can cite some concrete example on ways how you think you could help more our industry, PASEI in particular, PASEI members in particular, para po dun sa bosses na kailangan naming lakasan with your help. And so, maririnig po kami ng tamang ahensya ng Pilipinas po. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. The best way to be heard in Congress is to be there. And much more, to be the chairman. Now, that remains to be seen, but I stand on my record what we've done in this term sa 18th Congress, and I can do more sa 19th Congress. I remember it when the founders of TUCP once said that we must elect people in order to influence policy. If you don't have people there, example, in Congress, even in the executive arm, you cannot influence policy. Kami naman po we're a labor organization. but we're open to other organizations, and we can help. So, no one can question anong advocacy sa TUCP naman, di ba? For past almost 50 years. We have been in the forefront of making sure what is right for labor, what is right for the workers, yung magagawa Pilipino. Again, mahirap naman mag-promise, ma'am, di ba? But I can assure you, full support all the way, as I did you saw what we did in the 18 Congress. And hopefully, kung meron naman na someone close to the heart and help us also shout to the President this time and to the next President na kung sino naman i-appoint natin sa Secretary of Department of Migrant Workers. Sayang naman yung trabaho natin for ilang oras noon na ang ma-appoint dyan, hindi naman tayo sang-ayon, di ba? So it becomes a big problem. So that also can be a source. And usap tayo, ma'am. Usap tayo. That can be in order to know also us very well and also your issues and concerns.
Thank you very much, Congressman Mendoza. I don't have other questions, and I wish you all the best. And I'm looking forward, and together with my colleagues in the industry, looking forward po dun sa success nyo, no, and more ways to actually illuminate what you do, and so we can influence each other to do the good things, no, for our kababayans, for our OFWs, and of course yung mga future na Pinoy na gusto pong magtrabaho. So salamat po ng marami. And again, all the best to you, sir.
Salamat, ma'am. Hope to help the industry.
Thank you, Chris, for your questions. And of course, thank you, Congressman Mendoza. Very interesting ang mga topics natin at talakayan this afternoon. And next up, alamin natin ang plataforma ng TUCP.
Sa susunod, malalaman natin ang mga plano ng TUCP na nire-represent ni Congressman Ray Mendoza. Yan po sa pagbabalik ng DAYO, Buhay OFW.
The OFW choice matters. Nagbabalik po ang DAYO, Buhay OFW. OFW choice matters. And now we will be hearing the platform of TUCP from Congressman Mendoza.
Thank you, Kay. So the platform of TUCP, yung platforma natin at saka parang future, anong gawin natin is number one. Di ba we were discussing a while ago yung effect of the pandemic, yung virus. Most laws, even international conventions, walang solution dyan sa pandemya. So, each and every law na ipasa natin in 19 Congress, dapat kasama na dyan. So, there are several laws, ang daming, parang nabitin, dapat natin na, napasa natin sa Kongreso, but bicameral naman tayo, kailangan yung, sa Senado. So, isa ito is the Magna Carta for the Seafarers, okay? We want it na do it fast, pasado sa Kongreso, isa yan. But madali lang yan. Yung isa, yung ratification ng Convention 188, that's the Fishing Convention. A while ago, kanina, di ba, parang extensive yung usapin natin, na of the OFWs, dalawa lang talagang sektor ang problema, which is one, yung kasambahay, yung household service workers. Two, fishing. No one is talking about it, actually. So there is also a Magna Carta for the fishing sector. Seafarers and fishing, two completely different subjects. Okay? In the land base, kanina we talk about yung illegal recruitment and blacklisting. That has to be. Then I also told you that kailangan yung issues and concerns nyo, usap tayo, and how are we best practices of the industry. Making sure that hindi na kayo madala sa parang isa, dalawa, medyo pangit, and in the hearing, ang dami-dami. Remember yung sa Saudi Arabia, we had to call the POEA, si Admin Olalia, and lahat, even the Polo in Saudi Arabia, to explain to us. And hopefully that will not be repeated. You police your own ranks. Among others, there was a talk regarding the healthcare workers, because you're being deployed abroad. Dapat yung deployment cap. Now, the deployment cap is quite simple because of mandated by the IATF, di ba, Richard, sabi mo. Through our efforts, actually, from 5,000, it went up to 6,500. And we requested actually a higher number, pero yung nabigay is now 7,000. What's important, if someone is there in Congress, paulit-ulit ba, kulitan natin ng talagang mawala yan. But as of now, considering that the virus is, hopefully it will go down with Omicron, it's not as fatal as yung Delta, etc. We may see a need na wala na yung deployment cap. Ultimate, talaga sa TUCP, na talagang walang deployment cap, especially for the healthcare workers, especially for the nurses.
It has been an interesting episode for us now because, the takeaway that you're living for us to, bring along, and our viewers will pick up on. You've been very generous in the information, the updates, the sharing of plans for the next Congress. At least from you, narinig namin yung natapos, kailangan tapusin, at kailangang reason para tumuloy kasi sa susunod na
Kinatrabaho sa Kongreso, it's always sometimes uphill battle. For example, the security of tenure law has been 19 years na.
Yes.
Tingnan mo, tapos na lahat, and then navito. So, ganun talaga. Ang importante lang, you get up, refile it, and make sure you have a speaker who listens to us, and of course, elections of 2022, choose the right president for us. Yeah. Choose the right president who has the ear for the OFW. May I also add lang na because of this pandemic, TUCP is also filing a bill relating you have maternity leave, you have paternity leave. Actually, we did that. And then service incentive, on all the leaves. May bago ngayon yung quarantine leave. Because of this pandemic, we saw the need for a quarantine leave. 14 days, 5 days, dapat paid at no cost. Even the antigen, the RT-PCR should not be cost to the employee. So,
malaking bagay yan sa ating komunidad ng mga manggagawa, Congressman. We wish we have more time, but we can only spend so much time, no? And we get to this point that perhaps you may want to take the opportunity to tell our audience, other than what we've covered, no? Parang what is it about TUCP that they should really note by heart, no? And remember, and ano ba yung fortuitous numbers, no? That they should not forget. Please.
Thank you, Richard and Kay, for having me here. Daghang salamat, no? And maraming salamat talaga for the OFW. Kami naman sa TUCP, we've been here, as I already mentioned, tagal na, almost 50 years. It has always been our advocacy. OFWs are also workers. We work for the mga gawang Pilipino, and we've been doing that so many years. It is our wish that when you do vote for a party list, would you cast your votes, think kung anong talagang, what is very important and close to your heart, your advocacy. If and ever you are really interested for employment and relating anything about your jobs, OFW or dito naman sa Pilipinas, then you think of us. The Otso TUCP. Number 88.
Yes.
Yun lang, I don't have to say so much about TUCP.
Maraming salamat. Thank you
ma'am.
so much, Congressman Mendoza, for all your insights and likewise all the initiatives of TUCP. So, Otso 88.
Pwede ko ba isayaw yan na kahit hindi ako sumasayaw. But anyway, Congressman Mendoza, maraming salamat and we wish you well. We wish you the best of luck. Keep safe as you go through the campaign. And, sa bumubuo ng DAYO at ng PASEI, aabangan namin na maririnig pa rin namin ang iyong kampanya sa susunod na kongreso.
Thank you. Thank
Maraming
you, Pasay.
salamat.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
so, Kay,
Good luck, Congressman Mendoza, and keep safe for the rest of your campaign period. At magbabalik po tayo dito sa DAYO, Buhay OFW. OFW Choice Matters.
it's okay. What do you think?
Well, our OFWs are excited for sure for the Department of Migrant Workers that basically should take care of our OFWs and protect them. And of course, our industry practitioners are also looking forward to reforms on regulations, perhaps, and to make it easier for the industry and our OFWs to get jobs and get deployed overseas.
That's right. And if it's an indication, no, yung episode na to with the information that us and our viewers actually gained, we're towards that direction already. Right?
Yes, that's
May
right.
may ma-share lang ako. It just dawned on me, no, listening to our guest's story or narrative. And the last 2 years, when we were hardest hit by the pandemic, is testament to what the TUCP has delivered. Having our guest, Congressman Mendoza, heading the committee for OFWs.
That's right. And he's actually looking forward to helping the Filipino people, especially our industry.
It's in the blood.
Yes.
Starting
yes.
from the father.
Yeah. 88 means infinity.
Correct,
diba?
correct.
Yeah.
So till the next episode.
Yes, ito po ang DAYO Buhay OFW. OFW Choice Matters.
The Pasay Election Forum.